first off, let's see, we have 26 people. Perfect. Okay, so I'll give it another minute or so before I start, just so that nobody gets left out or anything. But this would be the first time that I've looked at the whole chart after the weekly close. So the weekly just closed, and if you take a look, fucking disgusting. Like, it's pretty bad. Doesn't look like here. In case you like to, long stuff, I'm gonna invert the chart. Okay, like that looks like, like if price was dumping, right, and you saw this and you saw it kind of, I guess, hint that it wants to go up, right? This looks like a bottoming formation, right? Like, right where we took the lows down here, closed above, and then just upward momentum. Yeah, so like on a weekly level, be prepared for the chance that we could be in some type of like a micro bear cycle. And I know that we've said that over the last couple weeks. This is like, like a 3-month period. Let me see. Date. So from here to here. Yeah, about 3 months, right? Like 91 days. So maybe just shy of 3 months, because May is 31 days, whatever. But yeah, so about 3 months or so in this little bottoming formation, which is technically a top because we're inverting the chart. But yeah, so not really what you want to see, right? But we'll get into why this wouldn't be the worst thing for the market in general, and why certain levels are very important, right? So I'll give it another minute. Yeah, like just one more minute, and then we'll get started. Let's see. Flying Ducks asked, how are you feeling about Ethereum? Do you think it will recover? In case you're not going to stay for the entire thing, I'm going to answer yes, I do think it's going to recover, but we'll go into like the in-depth analysis in a bit. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this was for the YouTube channel, so yeah, you know what, I'll use like a different one. I'll use Coinbase. There we go. Oh nice, there's no drawings. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm about to have very similar analysis across the board, but also, if you've already seen CBS's stream, you've already seen Trader Main's stream, there's a very, 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 very good chance that you might just be getting a repetition of the same answers that you've already gotten. And that's mainly because they have a pretty good bias on the market most of the time. So they'll look at price action, and whether they're bullish or they're bearish, or maybe they're neutral, they'll let you know. Like they're not the type of traders to really be influenced too much by what the past market behaviors have done. Like if it looks bearish, they're probably gonna short. Very reasonable and bi-directional traders. Like they're not just a long only kind of trader, and I very much trust their judgments. So if you've seen them, you're probably gonna hear very similar things on this live stream. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So before I get into like the FUD and stuff, let's talk about the technicals, right? That's probably the most important part, just because the technicals are a reflection of everything that's going on, right? From buyers to sellers, and whether there's more buyers because there's good news, or if there's, I guess, more sellers because there's bad news. It's usually, 99% of the time reflected in the chart, right? So from here now, I would hate to say it, but this looks like distribution, right? And I'll put up a wick-off chart or whatever for you of what distribution looks like, but I'm going to go ahead and explain to you why I think there's a very solid chance that we do go down and trade like down here at some point. Okay, so maybe not right away. I actually anticipate some type of bounce up like that, but yeah, very, very rarely do you just see like nuke all the way down. Like this would have to be some insane news that speedens the cycle, right? As in, you have Elon or Bezos or whoever comes out and they're like, yo, Bitcoin's a scam, or the government comes out with some regulations that might be a little bit, harsh, whatever. That's when you normally see those those crazy candles down, right? Usually price grinds up and down before heading lower. So, all right, so the technicals, let's do the daily, okay? Weekly, we kind of briefly mentioned, looks like a top, right? So let me see. So you're gonna see that this was the high, right? This was pretty much like the all-time high, right? And this candle was the SFP. So you saw price trade above, right? So price traded right here at 65k, and the all-time high before was like 62k. I'm rounding up for simplicity's sake because different exchanges have different numbers. Like one could be 64.9, one could be 61.5, whatever, right? So I'm gonna round up 65 and 62, right? So this wick the top, closed significantly below. So it closed at 56,150, right? So like 56k. Okay, so why is that important? This is important to note because that means price broke the all-time highs, right? So this was the all-time high. We broke above it, but there was no buying pressure to take it higher. When we got up here, people wanted to sell, right? And because people sold, we went down to around 56k. That's kind of the idea why it's important, right? Because you would think that if, hey, we broke all-time highs on a high time frame level, we should see continuation, right? Like if you didn't see all these candles, just forget this. And this candle was all the way up here in the, like, imagine it was white and it was up here. This would look like it's going to continue to like 100k, right? Problem is it didn't. It got sold off extremely hard, okay? And then not only that, you saw a bearish retest right here, followed by a pretty fat nuke this week, right? So this nuke right here pretty much had no movement up, as in this high was never traded above again, right? So at 59.5 exactly, at least on the Binance chart, we never traded above it, right? We kind of we closed the candle, whatever, kind of retested it, and then just complete nuke. So we had 2 weeks of an uptrend, right? So 1 week, 2 week, followed by 1 week that completely erases the uptrend, right? And some. So that looks bad. And I shared the other day that 49k was where, like you just didn't want to close any candles below 49k. This is why, okay? Obviously on Twitter, I'm not gonna like go into detail like this and explain to people why, I'm eyeing the levels I am, just because why the fuck would I ever do that? It's boring, and two, like, they're probably gonna ask like 1,000,001 questions and I just don't feel like answering. But you guys are different. So 49k right here, key level, right? Why? Pretty much the entire uptrend. This was the start of it, and if we erase the entire uptrend, then you have some issues, right? Like imagine that just on a conceptual level where you have a lot of buyers stepping in, they push the price up, but then you have more sellers and buyers that erase the entire uptrend. So everyone who bought within these 2 weeks, they're down, okay? So this motherfucker's underwater, this bottom buyer, right? So you had like a 49k entry, you're jumping up and down, it's at 58k, you're like, fuck, I'm so smart. Well, you just lost every single unrealized profit that you made right here, okay? And that's why this candle is extremely fucking bearish, okay? Because now the people that bought here are trapped. There's a good chance that they're like, I might cut my losses, whatever, and then you see the push down. So on a weekly level, not necessarily the best looking chart. We could see a small bounce up to 49, maybe up to 56, but as of right now, I'm comfortable saying that unless we start closing above 56k, right? So regaining some type of some type of level on the bullish market structure, it's not looking too good, right? So that's on a weekly time frame. I'm gonna go ahead and erase these lines. Let's do the daily, because I think that's more relevant for most of us, since we do trade on a daily basis, or at least, you know, most of us do. So I think that has, you know, more relevance than the weekly. Okay, so right off the bat, why did I think oh, hold on, I have a question on the thing. Can you increase the capacity so others can... Oh man, let me try. Is there a way that I can... I don't know if I can, man. I don't think I can. It locks out at 50. But you know what? I have everything recorded right now on my OBS, and I'm just gonna toss this up with no edits. So right after this, I'm gonna start uploading. It's gonna be a raw file, so just, you know, deal with the fact that there's no logos and everything, and it won't be fancy. But at least you'll get the same information via the chart. And if you guys are following me, I'm on the BTC USDT chart with Binance. I'm on the daily chart. We haven't drawn anything on it, but I'll try my best to be very specific with the prices so that you guys can follow. But yeah, so BTC 1-day chart on the Binance USDT pairing. First off, you have a big inefficiency gap, right? So right here, you don't have to like draw it specifically to any key areas, just this is a gap, right? So basically price rocketed through this area right here, and it has formed as support for a while. And ironically, I believe this is where the good news started coming out, where it was like Tesla was buying into Bitcoin, and all these other, you know, corporations were looking to get into Bitcoin. This was when Saylor was like, yo, we've acquired 1.5 billion more Bitcoin or something like that, or like I bought 20 million in Bitcoin or whatever the fuck. So this is a key area for us, right? For the same reasons that we were talking about the weekly candle, right? So now let's use that same concept that we were talking about on the weekly candle, when we're talking about how the last 2 weeks we've had people buying and pushing up Bitcoin, right? As in, we've been in an uptrend for 2 weeks. We've had 2 green weeks. Now let's put that same concept into this daily chart. So ever since we've had this news, right, everyone has been in profit. So if you bought before the Tesla announcement, right, whatever, basically you've been in profit. Like, no matter how bad the dump is, you've been in profit. Problem is, you're back to where you were, right? So like if it goes to the bottom of this gap, this inefficiency gap, right, essentially the entire news got erased. So anyone who bought on news, right, so anyone who bought from here and held all the way through here, you basically lost all your gains. Sorry to say it, you lost all your gains. Okay, and what comes with that is people naturally have this, I guess, need to close at break even, right? And that's why you'll see that if price actually comes back down to this area, it's gonna wick, maybe not down this far, but there's gonna be some type of wick, just because, you know, people are like, yo, I'm gonna put my stop loss at break even, and as they should, right? Because if price completely reverts the value of good news, so if Tesla says they're buying, right, and it jumps up to 60K or whatever, 65K, okay, that's a 50% gain, right? So from like 40K up to 65K, it's a little bit more than 50%, but let's just do 50% for simplistic calculations, okay? So 50% up, fully retraces. At that point, I guarantee you, like, there's somebody out there that is like, yo, fuck that, like, I've seen all my gains go away, I just don't want to lose money, all right, I'm gonna close out my trade. And you're gonna see some type of nasty wick down, and that's usually where, I guess, like, people who are looking to get filled, right? Because it's like you're trading while other people are exiting out of force, right? Either maybe they're gonna get liquidated, maybe they don't want to lose money, maybe they're scared because they saw all their unrealized profits go to waste, okay? And it is scary. I don't blame anyone for that, right? Like when you watch, you're up 50% on Bitcoin and you watch all your gains go away, you're gonna panic, you're gonna sell. And I don't think it's the worst thing to do either, because price retracing this, I guess, like this whole Tesla buying thing and Saylor buying thing just tells you that the market has factored in that news does not increase the value of Bitcoin, right? Because the price of Bitcoin, or the value of Bitcoin, according to the market before the news, was like 38K, right? 38, 40K. So now if price travels back to 38 or 40K after the news is announced, essentially what the market is saying without explicitly saying is that it does not consider the news to increase the value of Bitcoin. Value is essentially the same three and a half months later, okay? Which is why I started picking some up here, because look, if it goes down to 40K, it's gonna be really ugly, right? Just from like general sentiment point of views, it's probably gonna go down to maybe like the lower end of this area, which would put it at 30K. Is it possible? Absolutely. We have the richest guy in the world going on Twitter like every other day to kick us in the nuts, okay? And then you have him arguing with Saylor, and I'm sure corporations are foaming at the mouth to get cheaper Bitcoins, right? Like they could give a fuck about Bitcoin going up. But yeah, so consider the possibility that if we don't bounce here, literally at the top of this inefficiency gap, you can draw a daily order block or something too, that if we don't bounce here, I think it gets a lot uglier. My personal opinion, I do think it bounces here, mainly because funding's completely reset across the board. Liquidity is very thin, which tells me that a lot of people got fucking hurt. You can look at it in the books. Yeah, it's not where I would think a fourth nuke comes in, right? So we've had like 1, 2, 3, like a lot of just fat down candles, right? I don't think this is where we see a huge one. We might see like some sort of bounce before continuation down, but that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not necessarily putting too much on the line, because when the market's shaky like this, I think your trading strategy should adapt to that, right? As in when you're trading, right? If the market is super bullish and it's rewarding you for adding on risk, you should do that. But if the market is a little shaky, there's, hypothetically the world's richest man is going online to Twitter and fucking shitting on your coins, which I guess is everybody's coin because it's Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe, don't risk too much, because you could be sleeping and Elon could go out and say, you know what, fuck Bitcoin, it's terrible for the environment, we're gonna adopt Verge, Ripple, whatever the fuck, Doge, okay? And you could wake up and see that you're 15% underwater on a leverage position. Let's say you're 5x, great, you're down 75%, and it happens quickly. It happens very quickly, and we're at an area where, yeah, we should bounce, but if we don't, you're gonna see a cascading effect, right? Where it's like anyone who bought Tesla news is gonna sell. People who see the price go down too quickly are gonna sell. It loses a certain area, like on a daily level or something. Bots trigger, it sells, and you'll see just a lot of selling. And that's part of the game. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen, right? I think anyone telling you that they know exactly what's gonna happen is full of shit. Okay, like whoever's telling you that, don't listen. Like, trust me when I tell you that some of the best, like some of the smartest people I know have no idea what the fuck is gonna happen, and that includes Suzu. Okay, like, trust me when I tell you that we're at a very pivotal area for Bitcoin where we could enter like 2 to 3 months of just, choppy downtrend before continuing up. But that's something that I think everybody should be aware of, right? I would love to, give you some more bullish propaganda, but right here, you should be very cautiously bullish. And the only reason you should be cautiously bullish is because we're sitting on a high time frame support, with this being, the area where price skyrocketed from good news. So I hope that this holds, but you never know. Okay, so that's the daily breakdown for Bitcoin. I'm not gonna do too much of like the specific technical stuff where it's like, look at this low, look at that high. We're gonna draw the range high, the range low, toss out the equilibrium point, right? Because I feel like lately the market's been driven on fundamentals, right? As in like, what is Elon Musk gonna say? What is Saylor gonna do? What are all these corporations gonna do? Are there any regulations? Is China banning Bitcoin? So when you have a lot of fundamental factors, you can use TA, and I think you should, because it adds context to price, right? But you should also use where price was when these fundamentals were happening, right? Because if fundamentals are such a big role in how price moves on a daily basis, you want to incorporate that into your analysis, right? So you want to know, okay, well, Elon and Tesla said they were gonna look into Bitcoin right here, and then maybe they said they were gonna sell some of their shit like right here, okay, and then maybe they show Doge like over here, whatever, right? Like, mark things out and you'll see like, all right, so these are the key areas that I want to pay attention to, because, well, people bought in because of these things, and if price retraces this area, they're probably gonna want to sell. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. I'm gonna quickly answer some questions that relate to Bitcoin just so that we can stay on track. So I'm gonna look on Discord. This won't be videoed, but I'll try my best to read out what the question is. So, hey Loma, this is from Smithers. Hey Loma, not sure if you shared thoughts on this already, but what do you make of Rec Proof's theory here? Ugly weekly candles are not ugly for price. Ugly weekly candles brings retail sell interest. Who needs the sell interest? Those looking to fill iceberg bids. The uglier the weekly candle, the better odds we have a move to the upside, and vice versa. In my opinion, that's not the rule. I think that's the exception. Okay. And I know because we're in a bull market, right? And I know he's talking probably about things like, let's go to ETH because we're gonna hop onto ETH. And oh crap, let me find one. Perfect. Okay, so like ETH, we've had a string of ugly candles, right? So you had this ugly candle right here. Okay, so we had like multiple ugly candles right here, right? Like high wick up, sell push down, high wick up, sell push down, but price still continued to truck up. Okay, but the difference is when we trade, okay, you have to know that these candles, when you see these candles, sure, it could break up, of course, right? There's never like a guarantee, but more often than not, when you see candles like this, you're better off being safe, taking profits, and like maybe keeping some on the board if you think this is just like a scam hunt, right? Where it's like they print an ugly candle and then they're gonna push price up using your liquidity, right? Sure, that happens, right? But let's say you saw this candle and you take that theory that Rec Proof, I'm not sure who that is, but you take that candle and you buy, right? Like you buy a fuck ton because you see, oh look, what an ugly ass candle, I'm gonna buy a fuck ton. It's clearly a scam to fill iceberg orders, which are just orders that are sitting way below the surface, right? So as soon as price triggers like a certain price, the orders pop up, they buy it up, right? So that's what an iceberg is. But so basically, you see this candle, it looks like shit, and you're like, yo, I'm gonna buy a fuck ton because it's clearly a scam. Sure, sometimes you get rewarded with this, okay? Sometimes you do get rewarded with things like this. But at the same time, like, there are situations where it's like, you know, like, you see an ugly candle and it's actually just ugly, right? Like, I mean, ugly candle, ugly candle, ugly candle that rewards you, you know? Let's see, ugly candle, right? Retest right here, boom. Ugly candle, retest, doesn't fail to, or doesn't hold above, right? Retest, boom, down. Ugly candle, right? Ugly candle. Let's see, how many more ugly candles we got? High wicking ugly candle, you know? Like, yeah, I guess it works, you know? Like, I don't think it's the rule, right? Same with like things like this, right? Or oops, right? You have like a high wick push up on a parabolic move and then it gets rejected, right? It's I mean, yeah, you know, like, it could be true, but I think it's the exception and not the rule, right? It's not something that you want to follow, where it's like, anytime you see a shitty weekly candle, you fucking buy. Like, I don't think that's the rule you should go by. It's the exception to the rule, okay? Like, sometimes that happens, but don't fucking bank on it. Like, don't put your money on something just because, hey, it looks shitty, there must be manipulation, and it's gonna go up next week. That almost sounds like borderline cope to me. So that's my opinion on it. Doesn't make sense in terms of like a longevity point of view, but teach their own, right? If it works for him, it works for him. But anyway, Will Know asks, how are you feeling about spot holdings here? I think spot, you should be okay. We haven't really lost macro trend. Spot, you can afford to be more patient with because there's no risk of ruin, as in no liquidation, no funding costs, etc. You just physically own the tokens, right? So I would trade that on high time frames, but if you entered on a low time frame, okay, and you're trading off of that, then, you know, maybe you should sell. But yeah. Okay, all right, so we're gonna go back to the ETH analysis. I'm gonna remove everything. We're gonna do same thing as we did for Bitcoin, except we're gonna do it on a weekly, daily, etc., right? And then we're gonna address some of the FUD that's going on, why we should be careful, and why they act, like, why they're kind of, I guess, important when it comes to how price moves, right? So let's see. All right, so not too much to work with on a weekly level, right? One, because I mean, we've just been going up for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, right? So 6 weeks, 2 weeks, or I guess a week and a day of downtrend. So not too many specific levels to work with, but let's look at some key areas, right? So I hate doing this, but it's like, oops, wrong kind of line. Let me see. Okay, so let me adjust this. So the coordinates, 4,000 ETH, right? Lots of just, you know, psychological resistance or support there, right? Like, when it comes to things in price discovery, there are logical areas where people want to sell, right? As in, you know, like $1 Doge, 50-cent Doge, 75-cent Doge. Like, just mentally speaking, it's very easy to, you know, like, kind of figure out where a lot of people are gonna sell things just because, like, it's a whole number, right? Same way it's like, oh, Bitcoin topped at 20K, and then, you know, it's like, oh wow, how convenient that it topped at literally like a whole number so that everyone can, you know, sell there because people probably had price targets in that area, right? Same with like Doge, right? Everyone wants to sell Doge at $1, or I guess they did. I don't know if they still do, but, you know, things like that, right? So let's say 4,000 coincidentally is also resistance right here. Okay, so you're seeing very similar thing, right, where we wick the top, and you can do this without the 4K too if you want. Depends on, you know, how you want to look at the market. If you don't want to do hypothetical levels, you can do Fibonacci's, you can do Elliott waves, you can, like, whatever you want to do, right? You can do it by transaction amount, right, where like, oh, ETH prices are getting a little too high because the gas fees are ridiculous, right? So you can do that. There are a lot of things that you can do to figure out when and why you should sell. TA is not the end-all be-all way of doing it. I've seen people literally trade without a chart. So I'm just gonna do this. Okay, so we have the highs set at 39.50 or 39 or 4K, sorry. So 4K, and the following week we wick it, kind of the same way we did for Bitcoin when we broke that 65K area, right? Like we just pushed up to 65K and then traded below. So this is where we close, right? So we swept the highs, closed below, right? So we closed at around 3,600. No immediate areas of support when it comes to the weekly chart, right? You can argue like, oh, maybe this was the bottom, right? Bottom of this candle could act as support. Yeah, it's not really the strongest support that I see. If Bitcoin drops from the 44K area, I think we could possibly see ETH taking like a 50% haircut. You know, like that's how crazy it is. And I mean, if we close this weekly below here, I would probably get out of my spot ETH positions. Reason for that is, well, there's a huge gap where we only had buying, right? And I feel like anyone who bought here, when they see price coming down, I'm pretty sure they would take some profit. That's my general idea of the market. I just try to put myself in the shoes of, you know, your average everyday trader that made money and might want to, like, not like your normie people who are like, I'm gonna hold forever, diamond hands, hodl, but like your average trader, right? That's trading with some decent size that can affect the market. Put yourself into their shoes, right? And what they would do, because normies are not gonna push the price of Ethereum too hard. Okay, that's gonna be your Suzus, your Alamedas, your CZs, your you know, like your Nomads and your Cobains and all of that, right? So your rich people are probably gonna move this. So that's the weekly, right? Not looking too hot. Daily, I have the same sentiment as I do for Bitcoin, in a sense where we're at an area that we should bounce off of, or it gets very, very, very ugly. You know, you can draw the daily order block, right? So daily order block right here coincides with the weekly lows. What do you know, right? Different ways of technical analysis that gives you similar areas of interest. That's just how TA fucking works, okay? I'm gonna go on a mini rant, but TA, there's no specific way of doing it. There's no proper way of doing it. You could do Renko, you can do Elliott waves, you can do fucking the stars and the moon, you can have insider information, but it usually all coincides in the same kind of area, right? The areas of interest. Because, well, people are buying at a certain area and people are selling at a certain area, right? And the analysis is just used to point you in the right direction. Like, you know, people bought a lot here, so price would gravitate here if people were to sell, stuff like that, right? So a lot of times you'll see Elliott waves or all these other analysis point you to very similar areas, right? It's kind of like when someone's like, oh, you know, make a left and then make a right, and then someone else tells you like, yeah, you know, just go diagonally through here. Like, yeah, okay, you end up at the same spot, you just took different routes. Okay, so same idea. Ethereum daily support doesn't really make sense to like short here, right? We lose this area. I think it's very likely that we go down to somewhere down here, so like, you know, this area or so. This isn't an order block, just like an area where I think if price move down, you'll see some type of bounce. Okay, so something like this would not surprise me, right? So as in like a bounce here from the daily area, makes a lower high, slowly bleeds down, followed by like a nuke, right? And if you see a slow bleed down, don't try to fade it, okay? Slow bleeds down are fucking terrible. Let me quickly explain what slow bleeding is. So slow bleeding is when you see shit that just gradually goes like it bounces, but it's ultimately going down, right? It's kind of like this, right? So imagine that, but as candles, because I can't draw candles to save my life. Okay, now what does this mean? Great answer. Okay, so a slow bleed just means that there's consistent amounts of selling higher than buying, right? As in, yes, there are buyers. Buyers are trying their best, right? There is some type of bullish attempt to push price up, or some type of anticipation that price is going to go up, so people are buying, right? Problem is, every day there's consistently more sellers dumping on them. Okay, and that's a slow bleed where it's like, yeah, price is going up, but generally speaking, it's going down. Like the trend is going down, right? There's more sellers and buyers in this trend. Price is going down. Now what happens? Eventually, buyers run out of money, right? Like eventually, if price keeps going down and you keep buying every fucking dip because, oh my god, look, price isn't nuking, right? It's just slowly bleeding down, and you try to catch every fucking dip, right? You just, oh, you know, this is the reversal, it's coming, and oh no, it's coming right here for sure. Oh no, this one is it, and it's like you keep buying every dip. Eventually you run out of money, and or you just don't want to get hurt again, so maybe you just don't long, right? And then the steady momentum that has come from sellers takes over, and you see the sharp move down, right? So you can see that with pretty much any coin. Let's go to, I'm gonna do a weekly chart so it's easier to see, right? So, you know, I guess you can, I guess on a weekly it's kind of harder to see, but here, right? So let's go back to the last bull market, right? So last bull market, you kind of see the same thing, right? Where it's like this slow bleed, and I know it's not slow because it's like on a daily candle, right? But you get what I'm talking about, where it's like, you know, you get the dump, and you get a little bit of buying interest right here, right? You get no, it nukes. Oh, but you know, you get a little bit of buying interest. Everyone's like, yo, you fucking idiot, why the fuck did you sell? You're a dumbass, blah 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 blah. Oh no, you know, down, and then as you notice, it gets steeper and steeper, right? Like it's basically just fucking vertically down at this point, like just down. Okay, oops, and you see it over here as well, right? Just like slow bleed, right? Like slow bleed down, boom, slow bleed down, boom. Like it's disgusting. Like you don't want to stand in the way of just slow bleeding where sellers are just overtaking buyers every opportunity that they get. It's gonna happen again, right? Eventually people are gonna have to take profits. Like everyone's made so much fucking money this year, maybe even last year, right? That it's like, okay, well, who's gonna realize some profits here, right? Because like you're gonna have to do it, or maybe you pay your whole fucking life in Ethereum and Bitcoin and Doge, who knows? But generally speaking, the money's not real until you realize it, right? So, I mean, yeah, it's up like a fuck ton since the start of the bull market, but people are gonna have to sell and they're gonna have to take profit. And do I think this is like the pico top of everything? Like we're done, we're just gonna go down for the next couple months? I don't think so. But could we enter like, you know, a couple months of a bear market? Yeah, you know, like it's not unreasonable, right? I'll show you the same chart. Let's go back to the last bull market, right? So last bull market, safe to say, hindsight being 2020, bull market ended right here, right? So as soon as you saw the breakdown, bearish retest on high time frames, and a complete big ass nuke down. Hindsight being 2020, the bear market started right here. Okay, was it like we had no good days or something? No, like we had, what is this, 2 weeks of an uptrend, right? We had a whole month of just uptrend. Okay, oops, I gotta, right, how about from right here, right? We had 2 months of just uptrend. So right, even though this was a macro bear market, we had micro bull cycles, right? So we had 30 days of just uptrend, 64 days of just uptrend. You had, what is this, another 2 months of just uptrend, right? So even though it is, you know, kind of like a, oh my god, we are in a bear market, there's gonna be micro bull cycles, right? And the same could be said the other way around, where, oh my god, we are in a macro bull market, there's gonna be micro bear cycles, right? So it's like, hindsight being 2020 again, start of the bull market, I guess, with confirmation, you know, you can say it started like around here, right? Where like you got a retest of this area right here. So like 310 for ETH, right? And it's not like we didn't have down days, right? It's like, what, you had, I don't know, a week right here, I don't know, like some type of retracement over here. I mean, man, there are very few, like, I don't know, a week and a half here, right? 2 weeks there. So there are little micro bear cycles that happen, but that's part of every trend, right? It doesn't go up forever, and that's what people need to understand. We could just be in another one of those, right? Like, what's to say this is any different than this? Like, I mean, you don't know until it loses like key areas, right? So if it traded like below here and did this, fuck, like we might be kind of fucked, you know? But I mean, until we lose key areas, it's very hard with the information that we have now to be like, yo, this is the bear market, guys, and we're gonna lose all of our money and we got to get the fuck out, because that's pretty irresponsible too, right? It's similar to long the top if you're selling the bottom, right? It's two sides of the same coin. So with that being said, this area, I anticipate to see some type of reaction here if we are still in a bull market. And if not, and we go all the way down here, I get a little worried, right? I start not leveraging longs. I start looking for shorts a little bit more often. I start building hedges to all my longs, stuff like that, right? And then once you get like the, oh shit, we're in a bear market and it's confirmed, kind of like how, you know, we didn't know it was a bull market when BTC was at like 4K, right? We didn't fucking know. I'm pretty sure everyone was like, yo, COVID is here, pandemic, everything's going on lockdown, short every fucking bounce because, you know, the world is going to ruins. Like, there's no way that, you know, like stocks and crypto should pump. Like, that makes no sense. Well, you know, it did. And it wouldn't be too surprising to see that now that, you know, sanctions are lifting, pandemic is nearly over, vaccines are, you know, being spread worldwide, that, you know, we see the inverse happen from the initial, right? So again, this stream isn't meant to, I guess, scare you guys into thinking that the bull market is over. I don't think it is, but I want to at least mentally prepare you guys for the reality that, you know, we could be entering a bearish cycle for the next couple months. I don't really appreciate a lot of things where people just go online and, you know, they tell people what they want to hear. It's like, yo, we're going to the moon, bro. Like, we are never going down. And I think that's extremely irresponsible, because it's like, you know better. You know, most of these people know better, but to get some likes, to get some hits online, and, you know, to get some whatever, right? It's easy to say shit like that because people will automatically like it. But I want you guys to actually be prepared that if this doesn't bounce right here, we're probably in bear season for a little bit. yeah, so that's my take on ETH and BTC. They're pretty correlated, and I anticipate ETH to just kind of be like a leveraged Bitcoin, where Bitcoin goes down 10%, you'll see ETH go down like 15, and then if Bitcoin goes up like 10%, you'll see ETH go up like 15-20%, right? I guess that's just the nature of a very correlated market, where you get, you know, like if ETH goes up 10%, fucking suddenly ass coin is going up 50%, or, you know, fucking if Doge goes up, suddenly fucking Shiba coin goes up, you know, 50% or whatever. So be mindful of this, okay? This live stream is meant to be more of like a reality check that, you know, the worst case scenario is that you lose all your money in a bear market. You lose all your money in a bull market, it's pretty fucking bad, but at least you have optimal trading conditions to make all your money back, right? And, you know, there are fucking tons of airdrops and money's just kind of flowing everywhere, right? You know, people are doing giveaways, you might win one, whatever. In a bear market, it's like the opportunities are running dry. You can't really long too many things and stay in profit for a long time. You know, it's just harder if you got liquidated in a bear market. So, which is why if you made money and, you know, you're happy with some of the gains that you made, you're better off than before the bull market. I highly suggest that, you know, like, you exercise extreme caution. But if you're like, you know, fucking Kobe, who's like $1 billion in the bank and, you know, could give a fuck about money, and he has like financial freedom, he has like fucking 10 houses and shit, you know, CZ's his butler, shit like that, then hey, you know, like, you don't ever have to take profit, really. You're just hedging against the risk that the fiat system dies, right? Your Bitcoin effectively acts as a hedge. You don't really care what the Bitcoin price is. Now let's talk a little bit about, actually, wait, let me answer a couple questions if there are any, about, like, you know, the market and stuff before I go into the FUD. Loma, 3 questions. What level would you be buying BTC, ETH, etc.? Do you foresee any changes in the ETH BTC direction? And finally, how do you see alt movements through this? Things like Sol, AVAX were able to cut loose before this, but obviously have been affected by this movement. Cool. Great questions. I think I answered the first one, where I'm buying BTC and ETH. Basically, I'm looking to buy here because if it doesn't stop here, then we're kind of fucked. Do you foresee any changes in ETH BTC direction? I don't. I think with EIP 1559 coming out, which is basically going to make ETH deflationary, I think ETH BTC will always kind of be in an uptrend, right? Maybe not always, you know, but it should continue that uptrend. Finally, how do I see alts moving through this? Well, in a correlated market like this, alts are going to get shat on. Doesn't matter how crazy your alt is, unless it's like Doge. Actually, you know what? Let me see what Doge is at. Let me see. Yeah, it's at like 49. I mean, you know, not like the worst. I mean, it just looks like this is playing out again. You know, like down move, up move, down makes a lower high, a higher low, and then moves up, which kind of falls in line with the fact that I think Bitcoin and ETH might have topped. So you'll see some type of upwards movement from here, especially given that in the next couple weeks you'll see the Coinbase lifting, the Coinbase launch of Doge. So I do think this is a reasonable area to buy. I'm personally not going to be too over leveraged or have too much risk for the same reasons that I just explained earlier, that I could wake up, Elon could have completely shat on my chest, and, you know, I could be fucking living on the streets. So let's go back to ETH. Yeah. Okay, so we're back on ETH. Tony says that's BTC now, isn't it? Let me see what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about like the slow bleed. Yes. Okay, so exactly. I think earlier I mentioned that this looks like distribution to me. The reason for that, let me erase all this circling because it makes it all messy and whatnot. So All right, so I am once again on the Bitcoin 1-day tether chart on the Binance exchange. Okay, so why does this look like distribution to me? Without even looking at volume or anything, no indicators, let's just look at raw price action. Okay, why does this look like distribution? And I'm not gonna lie, I was suckered into the fact that this distribution was going to be different because, you know, we had Elon, we had all these corporations coming in and the super cycle and all of that. My plan was to always sell at 58 to 59K on any retest that we got. The reason being that we made high, higher high, higher high, but price was marginally increasing, as in every time that we went up, it actually went up less and less, right? So let me just mark the high so you can kind of see. Sorry, let me. Okay, like made a high, right? And then we made another high, and then we made another high, but they weren't necessarily like real moves, right? Like they looked more like deviations than anything, right? So that's sign number one, right? Where it's like you have no follow through. And the reason you have no follow through, on any of these levels, so for people who are not in the stream, I'm looking at 58.3, 62.3, and 65K, which are the highs on every daily drive. Okay, so daily push up, that was a high. Daily push up, that was a high. Daily push up, that was a high. Okay, now let's get a little bit more analytical here. So basically, you're seeing that price pushes up and there's no follow through. Conceptually, let's try to understand what follow through is. Follow through is when you have basically consistent amounts of buying that ramps up, right? That's follow through, right? So example of follow through is like this, right? Where you have consistent buying that ramps up in velocity, right? So boom, you see follow through, right? No more follow through starting here. And the reason there's no more follow through is kind of literally the same reason why we're talking about buying and selling earlier, how buyers and sellers work. Essentially, a lot of fucking people are trying to sell. Like every time you make a high, whoever it is, it could be one person, it could be 10 people, it could be 10 million people. I have no idea. But people are looking to sell the highs every time. Okay? Like price goes up marginally more. Like I'm talking about, what is this? 5%. And what is this? Another 5% or close to 5%, right? Like people are selling. In a super bullish environment where people aren't looking to distribute, it doesn't, you know, like you don't go up 3% and go down like 10%, right? You don't go up 5% and go down like, I don't know what this is, like 24% more technically, but you know. So when you see that people are really looking to sell at every fucking high, you get worried, right? Because what do they know that you don't? Like, why are people selling 3% above the high, right? Because you have to ask yourself, oh, we just broke all-time highs. Why are people fucking selling right now? Consistently. Like, it's not just one time. It's like they consistent 1, 2, 3, right? Like, they just keep fucking selling it. And there's follow-through to the downside, which means there's a continuous interest in selling it, right? So it's not like you get like a sell and then like it gets bought back up and it flies. Okay, no, there's actually like legitimate follow through to the downside. Like each one reverses the entire up move, right? So rejected reverses this entire up move, right? Rejected reverses this entire up move, right? Boom, rejected reverses this entire up move, right? So it's like from this up move right here, reversed it completely, right? Same thing here. Now you're seeing the lower highs kick in, as in sellers are looking to sell before highs are even made, and you'll see the same kind of story, right? this was where price started to rally. Guess what? We retraced the entire thing. So when you see things like that, you're like, all right, clearly that in this range, okay, let me market that out for you. So clearly, oh my god, that's ugly. Okay, let me change the color real quick. Okay, so excuse my ugly ass range, okay, but so in this gray box, what you're seeing just off price action, no indicators, you're not pulling up some fucking supercomputer that tells you right or wrong, or you know, you're not talking directly to Suzu or anyone. You're just looking at a chart and finding patterns in price, figuring out what it means, why people are doing certain things, and you use that information to come to a conclusion that I guess, you know, you can put your money behind, right? An actionable idea. And what you see is that, well, fuck, there's a lot of selling going on, right? As in, this range might be distribution, right? That's one thing that should, you know, pop up in your head. And a lot of people call it different things, right? It could be, you know, resistance. You can call it resistance. You can call it a deviation. You can call it whatever. Basically, distribution is just people selling, or AKA distributing, at certain areas, right? And ironically, it's happened at the highs right here, which, you know, give the idea that, well, we might be entering a period where I guess crypto is on the bearish side, right? Where you have people taking profit and you have a little bit of FUD everywhere, and it looks really grim. But if there's anything that we've learned from the last couple of years that we've been here, it goes up, right? As in, like, ideally, the best performers are the people who are long-term bullish, but exercise caution, right? Because you can't just be like a bull tart where you just kind of, you know, you kind of just are always bullish and you're always looking along and you're always looking to bet the house because you're so confident in your long. No, like the ones who've made it are the ones who are long-term bullish, but they're smart enough to exercise caution, right? They're smart enough to be like, yo, I'm fucking wrong here, I'm gonna cut my trade. And trust me, that's everyone. Even if they sound fucking retarded online, like, I guarantee you Kobe is an insane trader. Loomdart, Cred, all those people, like Main, CBS, okay, they know when to crack down and be a bulltard. Like, they know when to be like, yo, you're not buying this, you fucking hate money, you're not gonna make it, stupid idiot. You know, like, they're that. But they're also the people who, when price does certain things like this, they look at it and they're like, well, fuck, you know, there's a realistic chance that we could be entering a bearish cycle, so maybe I should, you know, deleverage a little bit, take some risk off the board, add some hedge, maybe even flip short. Whatever, you know, your risk profile is, and, you know, your I guess your living situation, right? You might need to withdraw money, or you might need to, you know, pay yourself a little bit more, whatever. But yeah, so that's why, just off price action, no indicators, I think we are distributing, right? But again, I just really don't think this is a long-term top. Maybe that's just, you know, like the bulltard in me, you know, staying alive, but it just does not look like something that has formed like a top, right? I don't see any exponential buying by normies or anything. There hasn't really been any interest in Bitcoin either. Like, if you think about it, the interest has been on alts, right? Specifically Doge, specifically DeFi and stuff like that, Ethereum. So nothing that screams, wow, the Bitcoin top might be in, boys. So again, probably just a micro bear cycle, right? So I'd anticipate maybe like a couple more weeks of this at most, and then I think the uptrend just continues. But that's my opinion. We'll always have more live streams throughout the week to, you know, keep you guys updated on what price is doing, because if you guys have learned anything here, it's that shit changes really fucking fast, right? Like 3-4 days ago, the market looked decent. Like, the market looked really good. So up until this point, I don't know how to do the replay app, but just imagine that the candles from May 12th forward did not exist. Okay, so just pretend you don't see this. Okay, like pretend you just don't fucking see this. Here. Fuck, that's so ugly. Never mind. Okay, you'd look at the May 11th candle and you'd be like, wow, there's probably some type of continuation to the upside. And then Elon tweets that, yo, we're no longer accepting Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an environmental hazard. Go fuck yourself, right? Go eat shit, Loma. Okay, and guess what? We fucking fall out the ass. Okay, cool, right? Cool. Changed within a day, right? Like, pretty much the market can change on a whim. Like, tomorrow it could come out that it's like, yo, Mark Zuckerberg is buying Bitcoin, fuck Tesla. Or maybe Amazon is going to move into the cryptocurrency business. Who knows, right? But there are always a risk when it comes to 24/7 extremely volatile markets like crypto, that the game changes almost overnight, right? If you told me 2 weeks ago that Elon would literally be like enemy number one of the crypto industry, I would not fucking believe it. I'm like, yo, this guy's fucking endorsing Bitcoin, he's endorsing Doge, like he's one of us, whatever. Things change, and well, he might have just sped up the micro bear, who knows? But for now, it doesn't make sense to short. Okay, so I'm just reiterating everything for anyone who might have not been paying attention or just came into the stream. Does not make sense to be short here. I anticipate a bounce, but I would not leverage long bigly by any means. You have your own way of trading. If you leverage big for low time frame trades, for scalps or whatever, and it works for you, feel free to do that. I'm speaking on like a general basis here, and it doesn't really make sense to short into support, okay? But it doesn't make sense to be ungodly long with the looming uncertainty that Elon could put out another tweet like he did this morning saying like, yo, Bitcoiners are so fucking mean to me, I might just sell all the Bitcoins. Like, okay, asshat, like fuck you too then, but yeah, so no shorting, look for longs, don't think the cycle top is in. We might just be getting a micro bear. Some people call that a retracement, a pullback, whatever you want to call it. Okay, a micro bear sounds more intimidating, so I want to scare you guys, so I want to say micro bear cycle, but you can call it whatever the fuck you want. Just be aware that it's possible that we trade a little bit lower, maybe 38k, maybe 37k, and pump up, right? So careful with that. As far as FUD goes, be careful with what you see online. Okay, I'm not gonna address everything from like what is being said to what has already happened in the past, but be careful because a lot of these news, I guess, Twitter accounts ran by God knows who, they're kind of like CT influencers, right? Where it's like, do you know if these people can trade, or do they just like go online, they're like, yo, fucking buy Doge, or like buy whatever the fuck, and they might have no experience looking at a chart, they can't interpret anything off a fucking chart, but they have a following, and maybe they have a shill, right? Like people who shill those pancake swaps and Uniswap shit, I guarantee you they don't know how to trade because those charts are just fucking everywhere. Like the charts don't work, okay? And the same could be said about news outlets, where they're not always ran by people with your best interests at heart. They're not always neutral, and they're not even always correct. So if you're trading off of news like that, be very careful, because every fucking time there's FUD, I hear something about China, like fucking banning Bitcoin, or China locking down on the regulations, or China's gonna fuck over crypto and they're gonna regulate it and blah 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 blah. Okay, like it happens fucking literally every time. Is it true? Who knows? Like I don't know. Like nothing even comes out of China, like They're not even allowed to have a Twitter or like a Facebook or like an Instagram or whatever the fuck, right? Like they have their own shit. They have WeChat. They have, you know, like their own special versions of every app, right? So a lot of what you see, you know, and I'm not hating on China or anything, but it's like a lot of the news that you read from these, you know, other countries, not always accurate, right? Translations sometimes are fucked. News could have been like a month ago, 2 months ago, which is literally like an eternity in crypto. Like if you put out news from a week ago, you're already so fucking late. A week ago, oh, okay, well, Elon was like about to shield Doge on SNL. You know, like a lot happens in a week, yet alone an article from like a month or 2 months ago, right? So be careful, be very, very careful trading off news. Vet your news source, okay? A lot of them do have a vested interest, okay? If you ran a news site that everyone's following, right, and say you kind of know about crypto, let's say you open like a $2 million short on, you know, BNB, right? Okay, well, how about I let out a tweet that says, yo, Binance is being investigated by the IRS. Well, guess what? BNB is going to go down like 30%, right? Like, it's going to tank. Why? Because it's the fucking crypto of Binance, and if Binance is getting invested by the IRS, then it makes sense that their exchange token gets fucking, you know, clapped. And guess what? Well, they just made, you know, 600K, right? Like $500,000 off one tweet, off a news that may or may not be fully accurate, right? It could just be like, oh, there are rumors that, you know, Binance is being investigated by the IRS, and that rumor was like 6 months ago or some shit, you know. And it's crazy how this world works. We are kind of like in the Wild West where anything goes, right? You say some shit and people are gonna believe it, and you have no physical evidence of it really. It's just kind of like a clickbait headline or article, and you can easily also bet on it, which is illegal in real life. You can also bet on it and make money from it, right? That's something you can't do, right? Like if you're, you know, like if you're a reporter on Tesla, right? Like say you're with CNN or whatever the fuck. Okay, you can't fucking short Tesla and then go on air and be like, yeah, well, we heard Tesla is gonna, you know, shut down, and fucking spread that news to everyone, right? Like you'll literally go to jail, right? Like it just doesn't work like that. But here, okay, this is an anonymous Twitter account, kind of how, you know, it's like an anonymous CT community, right? You don't have a face, you can't hold people accountable. There's very little repercussions for spreading false news, a lot of FUD, right? It just be careful and keep that in mind when you guys are looking at a lot of these news articles. They're kind of bullshit. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna answer a couple more questions and then we're gonna close out the stream. But let's see. Let's see, what other questions do I have? Hani or Haney, sorry if I mispronounced your name, says, could this be a look below and fail? And if so, what would validate this logic? So I don't fully know what you're talking about when you say look below and fail, unless you're talking about like a sweep of the lows kind of thing, like a deviation where price trades below the key area for a little bit, fails to continue going downwards and moves up. Like, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, so I'm gonna go ahead and answer that question. Perfect. Okay, so if that's the case, so basically the idea is we trade below, right? So we trade below and then we pop back up here. Cool. That's a great question and it's possible. Okay, so let me answer that question. So if this happens, what you have to do is pretty much, one, exit your position, right? Because you're wrong. You're wrong here. Well, for me, right? So I would be, wrong if we overfill on this gap, right? Say we close like right here. I would probably get the fuck out. Why? Because this could easily just go all the way down to like this area, like 30K, right? I don't know how far down this is gonna go. I don't really want to, open Pandora's box and be like, all right, are we gonna get 35K? Are we just gonna get 30K maybe? Or maybe we just, wick down and close up. I don't know. Or maybe we just completely nuke all the way down. I have no idea, right? No fucking idea. So what I would do, I would exit here, and then if the level gets reclaimed, yes, I'll have to buy in higher, right? Like marginally higher, like $1,000 on Bitcoin higher. But you prevent all these scenarios from happening, right? As in, you prevent the scenario where maybe it doesn't reclaim and you're just stuck heavily underwater, right? I would rather take a small crack on the chin, exit, rebuy a little bit higher. Yes, it fucking stings, but you prevent yourself from these multiple situations playing out, okay? And yeah, you gotta buy in a little bit higher, but it's almost like insurance, right? Like, you have car insurance, you have life insurance, you have medical insurance, but guess what? There's a good chance you're probably not gonna need them, right? Well, most of us, right? Like, you're probably not gonna get in a car accident every day. You're probably not gonna die tomorrow, and you're probably not gonna need to go to the emergency room anytime soon. Fingers crossed. But you have it anyway, and you pay for that safety, right? Kind of the same idea here. So, oh my god, I'm so bad with drawing, guys. Like, Jesus Christ. So, same idea here, right? So you are essentially closing your position, taking the L, but that is essentially insurance for any further downside, because once it's in here, this is the real bottom of this range. I mean, if it's right here, like, there's a good chance that it just takes the liquidity down here too. Like, you're so fucking close to it, like, you might as well. The market is very curious, right? It's like, oh, what's under there? Oh, we're so close to there. I kind of want to see, how price reacts there, and the market just kind of moves in that ebb and flow. But yeah, that's pretty much how you should be going about things, in my opinion. The idea is never to avoid a loss. That's the wrong idea, right? The moment you start avoiding losses because you want to avoid pain, it becomes kind of like, it becomes a game where you actually inflict more pain on yourself, because you end up holding the position longer because you don't want to lose, because you didn't lose until you close a position, right? And there's very just bad habits that form when you just, like, I'm just gonna hold it for the next support. For the next support. Like, if it invalidates your area, just get the fuck out. And then if it reclaims that area, cool. Well, then you can enter again for a higher probability play, right? There are so many times where it's like, I get into a position, get stopped out of it, enter it again, get stopped out of it again, enter it again, and then it works out, right? Like, and it might cost me like 2-3% every time that happens, but when the up move happens, I at least make my money back, right? Theoretically. But yeah. And then you continued with, okay, so you're talking about, so Haney says, if after we've dropped and we're bouncing up, what would keep you in the position rather than taking profits? I wouldn't stay in the position. So it's like, pretend it loses right here and it bounces up right here. I would close my position here for the same idea, right? Because I'm wrong, I got gifted an exit, I get out, and then if a long opportunity presents itself further, I continue, right? Then I'll buy or something, right? You don't hold a losing position and pray that it becomes a winning position, right? because sometimes it will test this area and break up. Of course, like that happens, but it breaks down, gives you an exit at break even. Let's say, you know, like you logged here at support, it gives you an out at break even, and you don't take it. Like, bro, like, what, why? You know, like, you're already wrong, you're already invalidated. You should be taking the gift right here, right? This is basically like someone's whooping your ass, and then they're like, yo bro, I want to squash the beef, let's shake hands, let's have a good night, like I don't want this to ruin the night. And you're like, no, fuck you, like let's keep fighting, you know, like, and you're getting your ass beat the entire time. So it's like, look, you're getting your ass beat if price is going down here and you logged up here, okay? Like you're for sure getting your ass beat, because that's nearly 20%, okay? So if you get graced with an exit at break even, yo, you take that and you never let it go, right? And then if price shows you like, yo, we're gonna continue upwards, then you buy back in, right? It doesn't make sense to, you know, be gifted an exit and then, you know, kind of just butcher it. So that's my take on this. Also, you should be noted that Bitcoin is a lot weaker than everything else in the market. So let's take a look at ETH. Yeah, like, I mean, I use Doge right now as kind of like the signal for market health, right? Mainly because, well, Doge is very liquid, and if Doge is doing well, there's a good chance the market is doing decently. Like, we're not going to go down, right? It will probably suck the liquidity out from everything, but you never know. So Doge looks good. Let's see, Litecoin. Litecoin completely retraced its entire pump. Very nice. Oh shit, what the fuck was that? Okay. So retrace the entire pump, not what you want to see, right? As in, anyone who bought at the start of May and made 50%, well, completely retraced, right? So not a good look. Would not be surprised to see price sweep these lows, so like 266, 265 around here. Okay. Yeah, be careful. Yeah, so Koala just said alts seem to be reacting better than expected on this drop. Would it make sense to accumulate quality alts on the way down, or would they get shattered if we approach 30Ks? They would absolutely get shattered if we trade to 30K, like 100%. Like, Bitcoin will literally put its foot up every altcoin's ass, I guarantee you, if we go to 30K. I mean, I guess it's already kind of, you know, putting its foot in everything's ass right now. So very scary. Like, it's very scary when in a bull market you see resistance actually fucking resisting. Like, fuck, bro. Like, that's kind of scary, right? Like, hey, I thought we're in a bull market. Hey, I thought we're in a bull market. The fuck, right? So kind of scary, but yeah. So that's pretty much my take on every alt right now. Like, yeah, you always want to be accumulating quality alts, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's quality or not, right? Like, look, LTC is down 50%. Let's find something with quality. Let's do let's see what Sol's at. Yeah, I mean, Sol's retraced from the breakout today too. Like, that's fucking very unfortunate, you know? Like, music in the car above this line. But yeah, like, very, oh Jesus Christ, where is it? Right, like, yeah, like retraces right here from today. Yeah, like, it's a quality alt, but it doesn't really matter too much, you know? Yeah, like, even the highest quality alts, right, where it's like, oh, great fundamentals, bro, it's still gonna take a hit when BTC dumps. That's just the nature of a correlated market, right? It doesn't matter if your coin cures cancer. It doesn't matter if Sam himself is fucking in charge of your coin. It doesn't matter if, you know, Elon is shilling Doge. Like, shit is going down. Like, is Doge down? Yeah, see, like, even Doge, right? Like, the one coin that Elon is bullish on is still dumping, despite the news kind of being triggered because, you know, he's like hating on Bitcoin or whatever, right? So that's just the nature of a correlated market. Like, when things go down, even if it doesn't make sense for the other coin to go down, it does. Okay, so be careful with getting into any like big longs on leverage. Okay, be very careful. I would say if you're buying anything, one, whatever size you're gonna buy, cut that shit in half, and do that on spot, and that's it. You know, be very patient. I don't think this storm is gonna last very long, but you know, market is selling off, and it has been selling off for a couple weeks now, actually. So just be careful. Hopefully that gives you guys a better perspective going into this week. I'm not too familiar with what, you know, the live streams of Main and CBS and Cred and all those other live streams that usually happen on Sundays said or are doing, but that's my take on the market. Haven't watched them, so I'm pretty unbiased. Haven't really even looked through Twitter today besides the shit posts, so I don't really know what the bias is, and I prefer it that way because I know it subconsciously affects me when I see traders that I respect saying like, yo, I'm bearish or I'm bullish or whatever, right? So that's my unbiased take on the market. Nothing too bearish, but cautiously bullish, right? Very cautious, like, as in I'm not taking leverage, big leverage positions or anything. Okay, so anyway, we're probably gonna do another one midweek because of the way the market is looking and how rapidly things are changing. I feel like a week might be too long, so let's schedule another live stream for today's Sunday. Let's do Wednesday, like the middle of the week. So we can vote on a time together in the live stream chat. I'm gonna put up a little, I'm gonna put it up right now. Live stream on Wednesday at, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put some times, vote with like an emoji or something underneath. Okay, this is, oh, you know, I'll put the time zone in case. Yeah, so kind of spread throughout the afternoon to the evening, because I figured in the mornings everyone's either at work or they have kids and a family, or they gotta do their errands, or they gotta, you know, fucking real life in the morning, right? Handle all their shit. So those are the times that I think would work best for all of us, I guess. So yeah. Zenot, I will, you know what? I'm gonna try and get on Twitch. It's just really hard to get on Twitch because it's like I'm used to just kind of hitting one button and then it streams, and then I can record it on the side. But I'll figure out how to do that with Twitch to where it's a little bit more, I guess, straightforward for me to do. But yeah, I can try on Twitch so that everybody can join. I tried it before. It's just really difficult, but I think I was just doing it wrong, so I'll figure it out. So it looks like we're either gonna get the early afternoon or the late night show. So that's, you know, more power to anyone that wants to vote for a time. Like, it's gonna be recorded, so if you can't make it, don't worry. I'm gonna get this live recording right now uploaded But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys vote if you guys are gonna show up. Like, if you guys aren't gonna show up, don't even vote, because it's gonna, you know, fuck it over for other people. But yeah, again, thank you guys for watching. I hope that gives some clarity on the market. Not, you know, I'm not too worried, surprisingly, but who knows? Elon, go fuck yourself. Anyway, have a great night, boys, and I will see you on Wednesday. Peace.